Welcome to Cheesewood by Romandmitri. Today I want to show off this solar oven or solar kiln that I built to dry wood. Now I've read that wood needs to be in the oven at 56 degrees Celsius for about half an hour to kill all the bugs and dry it out. This guy here got to 58 degrees Celsius for over 3 hours just a few weeks ago, and we're still in early May, so I'd call that a success. Oh gee willikers, those doors are heavy. As you can see right now, it's stacked to the tits. I've had this lumber in there for a few weeks now and it's at like 2% moisture content. That's very low, but that's the sacrifice I had to make sure all the bugs were dead. You see, a couple years ago we took down our barn and ended up with a lot of reclaimed lumber. Well, it's actually just wood that's been sitting in our yard for over a year, and it's been through all sorts of seasons and it's infested with all sorts of bugs. First we tried the naive approach of just stacking the wood with a fan next to it, and well, after a week I realized that didn't work at all. At least not to dry it, but our concern wasn't really to get it dry. We were more concerned about any sort of bugs that might be in the wood, because if we're gonna use this wood on the new garage, we didn't want that sort of infestation. So we walked around to some local shops and figured out that we should try Borax. Borax is basically a cleaning product, and the idea is it'll kill any bugs in the wood. Well, on the surface. We spent a lot of time cleaning, and when we thought the wood was ready to go and dry enough after just sitting in the sun for a while, we started planing it. We planed it down from just over an inch down to 7/8, and one out of 20 or so pieces had a couple of larvae in it. This made us panic, because if we found larvae, the borax didn't work, and there's a chance there's still larvae in other pieces of wood that we simply haven't seen yet. This meant that we had to do something. I emailed a few local companies that might potentially dry the wood, but I didn't get any response. So ultimately I decided to build my own, and that's what you see here. I started with the design in Blender. Once I had my design, I knew exactly what to order. This oven here is literally 2 pieces of plywood for its surface area. Once I've established that, I figured out the height and all the lumber that I needed. Altogether, materials including the insulation, which is behind the OSB, was upwards of $2,000. This also included the fans that are circulating the airflow and a Wi-Fi temperature controller so that I can know what the temperature is and monitor it. That cost about $50. So let's see what we got. We got 2x10s on the bottom. That builds our entire base. We got joist hangers that's hanging 2x6s. And we actually have 2-inch, or was it 1-inch, rigid foam insulation underneath. So even in the winter months, this gives us good insulation. Then we got 3/4-inch plywood on top. Again, 2 4x8 sheets. That's our area, which means this is 16 feet wide, and we could put in basically 15 footers if we wanted to. Next, I built the walls using 2x4s, 24 inches off center. Once I built the walls, I put a roof on it and build a frame to install the fans for that circulation. Then it was just a matter of getting insulation into the walls, getting a vapor barrier, and OSB to seal it all up. Some of these things weren't really necessary, but I figured it's good practice for me just to do some interior framing. Now I know you'll see other videos where people paint the interior black with some sort of pavement sealer. Well, I got some too. It's just on standby. I'll use it when the time comes, if I need it. The doors are basically made the same way. They are 2x4 construction with 24-inch off center. The center door is the smallest. It's quite light, and it's got a nice handle on it for me to take it off and simply just peek inside. I also have a sheet of poly across the top that'll make sure the air actually circulates in the right direction. This way hot air comes in on top and dries everything out. Now you could look up nice diagrams on how these things are supposed to work, but hey, this is what mine looks like, and it works. Now I'm in Cambridge, Kitchener-Waterloo area, which is about 1 hour west of Toronto in Ontario. I think we're on the 44th parallel, just to give you an idea of the climate. Like I said, I built this around August, and one of the days we hit 55 degrees Celsius. And at the time the oven was empty. I was just curious if it would hit what we need to. And then we started to roll into the winter months, and it was getting quite cool. But I didn't want to wait until summer to dry my wood. So I started doing all sorts of experiments. First, I tried to hook up my smoker just to give it that extra heat, and well, within a few hours I realized that wasn't going to do it. So next I had this bright idea to use heaters, and I tried all sorts of configurations. Panels you see here and here is where I actually had tubes coming in from these heaters. Because first I tried the heaters inside the unit, and they heated up really quickly, but they shut off at 45 degrees Celsius. I actually looked long and hard, and I couldn't find any baseboard heaters or floor models that would go beyond 45 degrees. So this became a problem. And I realized, what if I had my heaters outside and I fed that heat into the oven somehow? Well, that worked, but actually I couldn't get even to that 45 degree mark. It was probably around 5 or 10 degrees outside at the time. In any case, that was a failure and it didn't work. So if you're thinking of using just standard heaters, don't. So next I started looking at some heavy duty stuff, like a sauna heater. And I did purchase one. I think it's a 30 amp, 40 amp model. I can't remember. I haven't installed it yet. And well, once I purchased it, that was around the same time that I was getting my 50 amp receptacles installed. And my electricians told me that, well, the 50 amp receptacle is good for a welder, but it's not good to run a heater a long time, or even charge an EV, so we'll have to upgrade. And that sent me down a whole different spiral, and I got a separate video that explains what happened with that. Check out the link wherever it is. Anyway, I got the right electrical source. I might need to jig something up if we're talking about winter sauna heater, but it won't even fit in here. It's a tiny unit, but it needs clearance and it needs the right circulation, and well, I've been putting it off for so long that now it's basically summertime and I don't even need one. If I still have this thing up in a few months, then I'll consider using it. Right now we're able to hit 58 degrees for 3 hours on a good day. And again, it's just May and it works. So overall, this thing's a success. It weighs about 1,500 pounds. I just did the quick math, and again, it cost me close to $2,000. But it works. So what can I show you? Actually, that's basically it. The other door comes off and you got your in and out access. And that's a success. Of course, none of this could have been possible without the dewalt tools that I have, that I love. So praise dewalt as always. If you need to dry wood and you're thinking about building an oven and you got the space to do so, well, why don't you just go ahead and do it? It's actually going to be a lot cheaper to have your own than to pay somebody else to pick up the wood, take it to an oven, try it somewhere else, bring it back. No. Build one, and well, once you're done with it, I guess just get rid of it. I'm hoping somebody will buy this one day. I built the frame such a way that I can add wheels, and off it goes on the trailer bed. Well guys, thanks for watching. Hope this was inspirational. Have a great summer.